अभय चरण अरविंद भक्ति वेदांता स्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय विष्णुपाद परम हम सप्रिवचकाचार्य स्तोत्र सत श्री श्रीमद भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर गोस्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नाम आचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। सद गोस्वामी प्रभु वृंदावन की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमनंदी हरि हरि बोल। All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Shishu Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, titled Creation, Chapter 17, Punishment and Reward of Kali. And today we are reading the last text, number 45. Itham Bhutanubhavo Yam Itham Bhutanubhavo Yam Abhimanyu Suto Nripa Abhimanyu Suto Nripa Yasha Palayata Akshonim Yasha Palayata Shonim Yuyam Satraya Dikshitaha Yuyam Satraya Dikshitaha Ittam Bhutanubhavoyam Abhimanyu Suto Nripa Yasha Palayata Kshonim Yuyam Satraya Dikshita Ittam Bhutanubhavoyam Abhimanyu Suto Nripa Yasha Palayata Kshonim Yuyam Satraya Dikshita Ittam Bhutanubhavoyam Abhimanyu Suto Nripa Yasha Palayata Kshonim Yuyam Satraya Dikshita. Please chant. Itam Bhutanubhavoyam Itam Bhutanubhavoyam Abhimanyu Suto Nripa Yasha Palayata Kshonim Yuyam Satraya Dikshita. Abhimanyu Suto Nripa Yasha Palayata Kshonim Yuyam Satraya Dikshita. Itam Bhutanubhavoyam Abhimanyu Suto Nripa Yasya Palayata Kshonim यूयं सत्राय दीक्षिताः इत्थं भूतानुभावोऽयम् अभिमन्यु सुतो नृपा पालयताक्षोणिम् यूयं सत्राय दीक्षिताः. Mataji's, please. Abhimanyu suto nirpa yasha paleta kshonim yuyam satraya dikshita. Word to word. Itam bhuta, being thus, anubhava, experience, I am of this, Abhimanyu Sutaha, son of Abhimanyu, Nripaha, the king, Yasha, whose, Palyataha, on account of his ruling, Akshonim, on the earth, Yuyam, you all, Satraya, in performing sacrifices, Dikshitaha, initiated. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Abhay Charan Arvind Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. Maharaj Parikshit, the son of Abhimanyu, is so experienced that by dint of his expert administration and patronage, it has been possible for you to perform a sacrifice such as this. Purport. The Brahmanas and the Sannyasis are expert in the spiritual advancement of society, whereas the Kshatriyas or the administrators are expert in the material peace and prosperity of human society. Both of them are the pillars of all happiness, and therefore they are meant for full cooperation for common welfare. Maharaj Parikshit was experienced enough to drive away Kali from his field of activities and thereby make the state receptive to spiritual enlightenment. If the common people are not receptive, it is very difficult to impress upon them the necessity of spiritual enlightenment. Austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness, the basic principles of religion, prepare the ground for the reception of advancement in spiritual knowledge, and Maharaj Parikshit made this favorable condition possible. Thus the rishis of Naimisaranya were able to perform the sacrifices for 1,000 years. In other words, without state support, no doctrines of philosophy or religious principles can progressively advance. There should be complete cooperation between the Brahmanas and the Kshatriyas for this common good. Even up to Maharaj Ashoka, the same spirit was prevailing. Lord Buddha was sufficiently supported by King Ashoka, and thus his particular cult of knowledge was spread all over the world. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh yeah. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the first canto, 17th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Punishment and Reward of Kali. I seek blessings of all the superiors here. This is my first time speaking here, and Yeah, it's the concluding verse of this chapter. So there are few points that Srila Prabhupada is highlighting here. Um, Especially we can see is appreciating the expert administration of Maharaj Parikshit, who is the grandson of the Pandavas, son of Abhimanyu. And in the purport, he's mentioning few points. One point he's mentioning is about the cooperation between the administrators and the brahmanas, so that the society can be well balanced, peaceful, happy society. That's one. And then he's even giving examples of like King Ashoka, uh, who was supporting Lord Buddha in his work of spreading Buddhism around the world. So that's there. And then we hear, uh, okay, let me ask this. So what's this sacrifice that he's talking about here? Anyone would like to take a guess? Yes. Yeah. So these the sages of Naimisaranya who who came together to perform this sacrifice for 1,000 years, and they elected Sutta Goswami as the speaker of this assembly. So, and we know Sutta Goswami actually he heard Bhagavatam from Sukadev Goswami, and then in this setting he was given the opportunity to speak Srimad Bhagavatam. So, speaking about Parikshit Maharaj, I was thinking of sharing this one pastime that I read. It's from Skanda Purana, glorifying Srimad Bhagavatam. So Parikshit Maharaj he visits Vajranabha, the great grandson of Lord Krishna, grandson of Pradyumna. So he visited Vajranabh Maharaj in Mathura, who was so when the Pandavas they left the kingdom, and Yudhishthira Maharaj he installed um, Maharaj Parikshit on the throne in Hastinapur. At the same time, Maharaj Vajranabh he was installed enthroned the king at Mathura. So Maharaj Parikshit he visits King Vajranabh, and as usual in the Vaishnava system, when two devotees meet, they greet each other. So then King Parikshit he mentioned to Maharaj Vajranabh that um, you can you don't have to be worried about maintaining your army or conquering other kingdoms and stuff. You can focus on taking care of the people here, and I will help you with all the other necessities. So we can see qualities of Parikshit Maharaj as a great leader. He was assuring Vajranabh Maharaj in that way that you engage yourself in serving your mothers. Who were his mothers? The queens of Lord Krishna. And Mother Rukmini Devi, she happened to be there at that time. So Parikshit Maharaj was giving assurance to Maharaj Vajranabh in that way, and he was acknowledging the great mercy he has been bestowed by father of King Vajranabh and his great grandfather Lord Krishna, in the way that he was protected from the birth. So one name of King Parikshit is Vishnu Rat. Um, it means he was protected by Vishnu right from the birth, because he was the last heir to the Pandavas, and after the battle he is actually a posthumous child. So he was the only heir left. But and um, Ashwatthama, he actually tried to kill him also by firing a uh, Brahma Astra, which was neutralized by the Sudarshan Chakra by Lord Krishna. So King Parikshit, we can see from birth he is a great Vaishnava because he is protected by Lord Krishna himself right from the birth. And throughout his life, we can see all these qualities of a great devotee, great Vaishnava. He has manifested those qualities. And so here, Maharaj Parikshit in this case, he's telling. So what King Vajranab is saying. Actually, what am I going to do here? There is no one here. Pretty much, it's like no people here. Who am I going to rule, and what am I going to do? So then. King Parikshit, uh, he said, let's call Sandilya Rishi, because he happens to be the priest of Nanda Maharaj, their family priest. So he invites him, and he said we can take his advice. So you can see the advanced civilization. They just don't decide something on their own and just do it. Like these days, there's this thing, just do it. So it's not just do it, it's like a whole system. You have to take guidance, discuss with people who are learned in that science, and then plan it in that way. So they both invited um, Sandilya Rishi, and he came, and then he suggested them that you should perform Sankirtan um, with with all the queens here. You serve them in that way, and he also suggested that to Maharaj Vajranab that if you serve all these places in Vrindavan, so he mentions two things. He said one name of Vraja, one meaning of Vraja is it means all pervasive. So he's saying all these pastimes, this is a place where all the great devotees of the Lord, when they come here, they are relishing these transcendental pastimes of Lord Krishna, which are beyond material realm. So those devotees, they come here to relish these pastimes. So this is what you should do with all your mothers. You should perform Sankirtan, and in that way you see everything else will happen. So he suggested that you could invite Uddhava, who is very expert in speaking these pastimes, because he was personally uh, empowered by Lord Krishna to talk about these pastimes. And he even asked Uddhava before departing this planet for Vrindavan, he told him to take this message of Krishna consciousness, confidential message to the great devotees to whom Lord Krishna couldn't personally visit in his pastimes on the planet. Uh, so he asked Uddhava to go to Badarik ashram and meet all these exalted devotees there and share this message that's actually given there in the Srimad Bhagavatam in 11th canto, the Uddhava Gita. So Lord Krishna, he's asked Uddhava to do this service for him, because Uddhava, he wanted to go back with him. He was like, if you are leaving, what am I going to do here? Just like now we hear how King Vajranab is saying, there is no one here. What am I going to do? So um, we can see the actual, all the great devotees, the actual, uh, the most appropriate way to resolve all these contradictions, all these difficulties, all these challenges is by performing Sankirtan. And that's what they did. So they got together. He actually told him that um, you can go and perform this Sankirtan at Kusum Sarovar. Because he asked, how am I going to find Uddhava? We don't know where he is. So he told him that Uddhava is actually staying in at Kusum Sarovar. He's staying there in the form of like a creeper, like a plant. And that was one of the prayers Uddhava offered to Krishna when he visited the residents of Vrindavan, and he saw how much attraction they have for Lord Krishna. They don't talk about anything else other than Krishna. Everything they do, everything they talk about, in every house you go, that's all that's going on. They're just talking about Krishna. This is what Krishna did today. The cowherds, they would come back and they would tell, this is the demon Krishna killed today, and all these parents of these cowherds, they would be like, sometimes they would accept it, sometimes they would say, how is it possible? And they would then, other times, they would start talking about how they were told that Krishna is not ordinary child. So many times they would even go to Nanda Maharaj and they would ask him, is your child like a demigod, or is he like a Narayan, or you know or he's just like a great child we have in our community. So they would talk like that. And there are certain pastimes where they even go and ask him, like, he's not only your child, he's our child also. So you are sharing all the good things of him, and we are kind of missing out. So you have to share it with us. You can't just have all the fun yourself. It's there in the pastime where Nanda Maharaj, he was taken by King Varuna. So on this certain Ekadasi day, Nanda Maharaj went there to take bath, and it was due to Vedic regulations, it was a little early to enter the waters, and so like that. And then Krishna, he went to get Nanda Maharaj back, and that's when they were like, okay. So King Vajranabh, he took that instruction and they performed Sankirtan at Kusum Sarovar, and then Uddhava, he manifested. And when I heard this pastime first time, I was like, wow, that's amazing. So all these things, they are actually going on. These are Nitya Leelas. They are eternal pastimes. And they are actually revealed to those devotees whose hearts are purified by these practices of Krishna consciousness. One example that I heard on this point was that just like there is so many different wavelengths, and then if you turn on the television, there are so many different channels you can access. So whichever wavelength you connect to, that's the channel you can access. So the pure devotees, because they are so absorbed in these pastimes of Krishna, they're actually seeing these pastimes all the time. It's not like something too far from them. But people who are in conditioned consciousness, it's like they can't imagine these kind of things happen. So nowadays, like, many people, they accept like how there are these UFOs and unidentified objects or things like that. People are becoming open to these kind of things. So, but those who hear about these things, or those who develop some understanding, those who develop this knowledge, they can understand that yes, these things exist. So similarly, by engaging in Sankirtan, by purifying our consciousness, we can access these things also. It's possible. That's what Lord Chaitanya, Krishna himself, he came to reveal how to practice bhakti in such difficult times in Kali Yuga. So Maharaj Parikshit is helping organize this great Sankirtan at Kusum Sarovar, and it happens Uddhava, he comes there, and they start performing Sankirtan, and then unfortunately or fortunately, King Parikshit, he had to leave. There was some message for him. He had to go and deal with some business in the kingdom, and he wanted, as much as he wanted to stay, he had to leave. And Uddhava was assuring him that don't worry, there is another arrangement for you. You're going to hear Bhagavatam. So um, King Parikshit, he had to leave this with a, you know, it was challenging to leave, but he had to leave. And so in this way, King Parikshit, he was always organizing these Sankirtan activities. So we can see from there, then we can see in the example of Lord Chaitanya, he himself was organizing Sankirtan all the time from young age, from his childhood pretty much. And one lecture I was hearing by Srila Prabhupada, and he's raising one point. It was related to this chapter actually. So he was saying that Lord Chaitanya, he was very popular at that time. So there is always, we are in Kali Yuga, there is always some challenge from the, the administration, from the state for performing Sankirtan. Sometimes you go someplace and they don't want you to do it there. So what to do? So Lord Chaitanya's example, Srila Prabhupada, he was saying that even in Lord Chaitanya's time, this resistance, it has always been there. The Kali Yuga is so prominent these days. So this Nawab, at that time he was ruling over Bengal, and they tried to stop the Sankirtan. And then Lord Chaitanya, he took all his followers and they went and they protested. So Srila Prabhupada is giving this example that Lord Chaitanya could do it because he was so popular. When Nawab saw so many followers coming with Lord Chaitanya, he didn't even come out of his palace. He was scared. And then, after some assurance, he comes out and he's asking Lord Chaitanya, I'm your uncle, what are you doing this? Like, what's this about? He said, well, you are uncle, so what are you doing? What's this about? Why are you stopping our Sankirtan? And then they have a awesome discussion, and the Nawab, he actually, because he's also a very scholaristic person. He was a Maulana, educated, saintly person. So even he was like a saintly ruler in one sense. And throughout the discussion, he actually admits that Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he even mentioned that, yes, they had a discussion on Quran. Now, I don't know Quran personally, I haven't read it. But Lord Chaitanya points out Bhakti even in Quran. And Nawab, he accepts it. He said, yes, it's there, but the population in general, if I say it, they won't accept it. So the situation is like that. And we are facing the same situation in our time, because so many people, they are not necessarily interested in hearing the message of Krishna consciousness. But we can see example of Srila Prabhupada, coming to Srila Prabhupada, that even though people are not interested, he engaged himself in sharing this message. And there are always people there will be some people who would be interested. And then from then, like that, it can go on. So many times, I just share this one pastime of Srila Prabhupada. In the beginning years, when it was very difficult, many times he would go back to these people, the shipping company people, and he would ask them, when is the next ship going back to India? And they would say, it happened few times, and he wouldn't go. And this one time, this officer, he asked him, Swamiji, you come here every time and you ask when is the next ship going back, and you never go back. What's going on? He said, I can't go back. Is I have to come to give this message. This is the order of my guru. So I can't go back even if I want to go back. So yeah, this message, we can face so many difficulties, so many challenges, but we have to, depend on Krishna to see some ways and do it. That's the real thing. Just do it. So we can use this just do it for Sankirtan. And in that way, by performing that, hopefully gradually we become purified and we can, develop some appreciation and we can develop some access by mercy of the Vaishnavas, mercy of Srila Prabhupada to these pastimes. Um, so, okay, we still have a few minutes. Um, yeah, and coming to this point of the cooperation between state. So in this lecture, Srila Prabhupada was mentioning, the devotee asked him, so how in present time more people will become, uh, how will we have Krishna conscious leaders? How will Krishna consciousness spread to mass of people? Because it's already foretold that it's going to happen. So when is it going to happen? How is it going to happen? So this was Srila Prabhupada's response to this question. He said that mass numbers, they will become attracted to people, especially when we put endeavor to educate people in Krishna consciousness. When people become educated in Krishna consciousness, they would naturally want a Krishna conscious leader. And they would revolt against all these unqualified leaders, because naturally when people are educated, just like we see these days, like veganism, it's becoming like such a popular thing, so many vegan festivals, this, that. Srila Prabhupada even gives this example that when people want something, the majority of people want something, the state, they make it happen because they don't have any other choice. They have to go with the choice of the public. So he gives this example of marijuana. He says, what is this, Mariana or something? And then devotees, he said, yeah, marijuana. He said that because people want it, so the government, it's legalizing it. Many years ago, maybe some of you might know, it wasn't legal. But these days, people say it's like medicine. I personally met some people. It's like, I thought it was like a herbal medicine. It's like, so that is how it's being promoted. And all these innocent people who don't know, they are actually being cheated in that way. So we can understand the importance of sharing this education of Krishna consciousness with others. And those who understand, those who take this opportunity, they will become purified and they will access these pastimes. So in that sense, Krishna conscious devotees, they have a lot of responsibility. We have to become educated first. Srila Prabhupada said, these books, they are not only for distributing, they are also for reading, for studying. We have to know the books. So this is the desire of our Guru. And we pray every morning in the Guru Puja. What is that line you say? Ar na kari ho mane asha. So what does this mean? That's what it means. We have to align our desires with the desires of Srila Prabhupada. Because his desires are completely in line with desires of Lord Chaitanya, Lord Krishna. And that's how, even in so difficult times, just within a span of a little over 10 years, Krishna consciousness was spread all over the world. So that's what Srila Prabhupada expects from us. We have to become Krishna conscious so we can experience all these things. And then once you are experiencing naturally, you would want to talk about it. Because what else you would talk about it? And when we are in that kind of consciousness, when you meet people, they can sense it. Sometimes I ask people, you look so happy. What is working well for you? When we meet people on books, Sankirtan, and then sometimes they say, "Oh, really? Do I look happy?" So you know, so it's actually the case of the devotees. We may be doing so many services. It's like, oh man, how am I going to do this service? It's so difficult, and my mind is giving me hard time. And how am I going to get some help or something? And it's like you are totally absorbed. It's so difficult. It can't happen. I don't know how am I going to do it. And then you see when yeah, okay, anyways, I have to do, let me try what I can, and then you see so much help comes, and you are like amazed, oh wow. So these people, when you point, many people actually, they say, actually, it's just on the face. Inside is different. I was like, oh really? I thought you look really happy. And then some people, they actually really open up, and they tell me their whole story, what's going on. Like, oh man. And like, I've been meeting like young students, they come, I'm so stressed out, do you have something? I was like, man, you live in California, what are you talking about, stress in California? It's like the weather is always good, the ocean is not far from you, just like few minutes drive, and you can just go and jump into it, and what's the stress? And then like, I think, well, they are so young and they are so stressed out even at so young age. So we can see there is a big disconnect in this civilization, in this society, modern society. Srila Prabhupada, he mentions in one of the purports in this chapter, actually, I don't know which verse it is exactly, but he's saying this modern civilization of advanced technology, all is all it's doing is creating artificial scarcity by controlling all these commodities for business people, and it's creating so much ignorance, so much frustration among people. You can see in general there is so many people that are so frustrated how the government system is. Um, but because the leaders themselves, like in the last purport I was reading, Srila Prabhupada, he's saying it straight. He's saying these leaders, they are fools. How can such kind of people, they are trying to put two contradictory things together. How can they do it? They themselves don't have any standard, and they themselves are not true to their own words, even amongst themselves. So how can you have a peaceful, happy society? And he's saying that unless you have spiritually educated leaders, it's just not possible. No matter how many United Nations, he says only the numbers of flags are increasing. That's all that's happening. There is no solution. Um, so these solutions we can see here, they're working out for people who are trying it, and we can see. I really want to share this example of Rath Yatra festival here. Like Sovash Prabhu, it's amazing, all the devotees here, how they are doing it. Like such a beautiful festival. So many people, even I personally met, they were like, this is incredible. We've never seen anything like this. So people may not know what it is going, but they develop so much appreciation when they see these Sankirtan festivals happening. And many of them, they become attracted. Some they will take prasadam, some they might get a book, some they might like the Harinam Kirtan happening. Different people, they get attracted to different things. So we can only offer them some opportunity to appreciate Krishna consciousness, and then naturally, more people will become attracted. So it's getting close to the time. Just to conclude, the main point like I personally take from this is that I personally have to become Krishna conscious, and then only I can give it to others. If I don't have it, I can give it to others. So for ourselves, we have this responsibility, and then, as much as we can in our own situations, we can try share it with others. Because if we have it, naturally, we would want to share it. So that's what I am taking from this verse. I understand from previous texts we have already had a deep discussion on the principles of austerity, cleanliness, mercy, truthfulness. So I just wanted to share some of these points, and I really thank for this opportunity. And I would like if any of the senior Vaishnavas, other devotees, they want to add something or they have some comments for me. Yes, bro.
Hey, Prabhu, thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
The pastime that you mentioned about Vajranath performing sacrifice so that Uddhava would come, how does it end? What does Uddhava tell him?
Yeah, so I mentioned briefly like how Uddhava appeared there, and then there was a great Sankirtan performed there, and then gradually all the Vajranab with the guidance of Sandila Rishi and from Uddhava, they revived all these pastime places in Vrindavan because they were in course of time they were not known, and and then we see the same example. Lord Chaitanya, he instructed his disciples, the Goswamis, to reveal all these pastime places. And this is, we can see an example of Srila Prabhupada. He didn't even, he brought all these places to all over the world. Now we see like here we are not in LA, we are at New Dwarka. So similarly, there are so many places, New Mayapur, New Vrindavan. So all these places are there. It depends on our consciousness how much we can access these.
A follow-up question, like one of the things that happened after that was Maharaj establishing the four principal temples of Vishnu in Braj. Do you know why he also established four Shiva temples?
I haven't personally gone in this past time in so detail. I just studied about the Sankirtan part, how they organized it, and but maybe we can discuss it another time. It's not so. I don't know how much it's related to this discussion, or if you want to share something. Mataji, she can. So his question is that he asked this question, why King Vajranab also installed four Shiva temples. Is that right? So he's asking why did he do that? Is that right? This,
If you want to know where to read it, go to the folio and look for the Mathura Mahatmya. It's in folio, and all the things that he's described are described there in the Mathura Mahatma. And Bharjanath, he established all the main Shiva lingams in the Braj area. And everything is there, so you read it directly. Thank you
Okay.
so much.
thank you, Mata. I guess we can conclude here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Bol.